This is a review of TrueOS 18.03 running on real hardware, an HP Compact DC5700, which is the same machine I always use for testing, as it provides a fairly low spec baseline for comparison. In the case of pc-bsd, this machine proved to be a no-go, so it's with great interest that we give TrueOS 18.03 a shot. Bear in mind that TrueOS 17.12 went smoothly, so I'm expecting the same this time. Let's begin. On boot up, TrueOS presented me with a screen pop-up that requested the correct video driver to be installed. It detected that the test computer was fitted with an Intel 82Q963 and offered the Intel driver as a suggestion. It then proceeded on to the next screen without a problem. The setup screens offered sensible choices, and the defaults were sufficient to proceed to the actual installation itself. The interactive elements of the installation were language selection, the server or desktop option, user setup and root password setup. One very good feature of the OS install is the ability to fine-tune the install as you go on. For example, at the bottom of the screen there are a few icons, each of which lets the user interact with the system as it's installing. You can restore from archived installations made with a Live Preserver, check hardware compatibility, fine-tune the keyboard settings, or check the network settings. There is also the option to enter a terminal emulator just for good measure. For an extra bit of security, there's an option to disable some services that you may not want or need to be running when the system starts for real. The most scary part for new users to TrueOS is the storage configuration, but the defaults here too should be okay for most installations, be they virtual or real. Why scary? Well, TrueOS uses ZFS for its de facto file system needs, and the idea of pulls, subvolumes and partitions may well be dizzying if you haven't worked with these topics before. The default desktop experience of TrueOS is Lumina 1.4, a custom-built desktop that was created by the developers of TrueOS for TrueOS and FreeBSD, but it can also be installed on Linux. But there may be problems with integration and support. It's recommended that you use TrueOS or FreeBSD if you want the best out of Lumina. Using Lumina is an education in itself. It doesn't look or act in a way that many users will be used to, but it is usable, and once learnt will become quickly second nature. It is a brave choice and integrates well into the system. We'll take a look in a moment at an example of daily usage of TrueOS and Lumina. I've heard complaints that TrueOS is not Linux enough, that it's missing common Linux applications like Steam and Chrome. But you have to remember that this is not Linux, nor does it pretend to be. It's FreeBSD with a custom desktop and a replaced init system. It's doing its own thing in a crowded IT sphere that seems to want all its participants to be the same, and for this it has to be applauded. It is, in my opinion, a workstation class OS. Many of the inbuilt tools such as ZFS, in conjunction with Live Preserver, the FreeBSD reputation of stability, and the sponsor, IX Systems' commitment to a FreeBSD and open source, means that for the home user and small businesses, TrueOS or TrueOS is a worthwhile candidate for your testing, and hopefully is a worthwhile candidate for your workstation or desktop. Right, now we're looking at the desktop of Lumina 1.4 on TrueOS 18.03. I've got simple screen recorder going in the background. I've got I've customized the desktop a little bit from the usual default as you get when you first install. Some nice pretty wallpaper on it, and populated the quick bar at the bottom, and removed some of the icons on the desktop. So it's not looking too bad at the moment, but we'll see. I've installed one or two extra pieces of software that you don't get on the default installation. VirtualBox being one of them, and the HP drivers, which, by the way, it's actually it detected my HP LaserJet 1020 no problem at all, so it's working, it's printing. And for those people who say, oh well, you know, FreeBSD or TrueOS they don't detect printers, yeah, they do. It's just you just need to do it right, that's all. Right, we'll see what we've got. Menu wise, as you see on Lumina, one of the aspects of Lumina is that you got the central part here is most used or your favorite applications that you've used. So you can remove from favorites. You can just remove all of these if you wish. If it increases your workflow, so let's have a look. So that just leaves you the most common folders that you might need. If you want to populate the favorite section, you go to browse applications. Now this lists all the applications that are that have been installed. They do it, each one is in a different section. Obviously you've got development, you've got education, you've got graphics, multimedia, so they're all in their own little little apartments, little pockets, little areas. So say for instance you use I don't know, I know, we'll get the graphics going. So obviously use the GIMP a lot. So if you right click on GIMP, you can either pin it to the desktop, which then would appear in this top left hand corner. You can add it to the favorites, which would appear in that central bit that I was showing you, or you can add it to the quick launch. So if I add it to the quick launch, there we go, it just popped down there. If I then if I want to add it to the desktop, there you go, it just appears on the desktop. Or if I want to add it to not start it, if I want to add it to favorites, and next time I look, there it is, it's in the favorite section. Oh, thank you very much, GIMP. In fact, while we're looking at GIMP, we'll just single window mode, thank you very much, it's a lot nicer. There you go. So that's how you put a application or program in the favorite section. And you can do the same thing with a folder. So we go to the folder, say like downloads, and add to quick launch. Then you can add the folder then appears at the quick launch bar like that. And that's it. So we'll remove that from quick launch, and remove that from quick launch. So you've got that, which is not. It's not. I like the feature. It enables a certain amount of flexibility that you can have installing and deinstalling things to quick access. Just slight. It could be a graphical thing where this keeps disappearing, but we'll keep an eye on that. Right, it seems to be right. So regarding the applications that I've done, you've got LibreOffice comes as standard. Scanlight is a great scanning thing. Simple screen recorder. Yeah, it's not too bad. Another aspect from everyday usage of Lumina, which can confuse people, is if you want to move an icon around. On most relatively modern desktops, you right click, no, you left click, and then you should better just drag the icon to anywhere you want on the screen. But in this case it doesn't do that, and you might think, oh, it doesn't work. Well, what you need to do is you right click for context, so you can launch it, view properties, copy, cut, delete, and modify. And modify allows you to move it. So if you want to move it, you right click and then modify it to move, and there it's stuck until you do it again. If you want to modify it, you start moving again. I'll move it to the center. Right, okay, we're going to try and resize the item. So if you want a big old icon, there it is. To modify it, you want to decrease it, the size. He says start resizing. There you go. Small, as small as you like, to I think there's a set size. like that, and it shows you the properties, tells you where it's pointing to, what command is given, so you can alter the commands there if you wish. If you've got a specific command line switch you'd like to start up GIMP with, so that's fairly easy. It also checks whether or not the settings are actually valid at the bottom there, to make sure you're not putting any erroneous settings. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just get rid of that. There we go. So that's how you populate the favourite sections. That's how it keeps disappearing on me. There you go. Oh, very strange. I think it's the graphics driver's not quite. It's not getting on with it a little bit, but it's not so bad. So this, where you go the browse, let's have a look what we got. You got some Qt4 development. There's a Qt5, education, LibreOffice Math, GIMP, of course, that we've just been looking at, LibreOffice Draw, Photonic, Scanlight, Xen, Simple Screen Recorder, otherwise you won't be seeing this, VLC, Clause. Now Clause is a good email client. It's fairly lightweight, and it's pretty much on par with Sylpheed, which is what I use on my main FreeBSD system. Firefox, Thunderbird, and I'm not even going to pronounce that. Some VNC server, GNU Cache, my money, and LibreOffice, App Cafe. App Cafe is how you install applications and programs in TrueOS. I mean, in previous videos I've shown you how it works. When you click on it, it takes you to the just the main screen. It's nothing there except this animation. But underneath there is categorized into what it terms as the popular categories that people want to install from. So if you click on web browsers, it'll bring up a list, all the browser related files and programs and libraries that you want to install. So I don't know, let's have a look. You know, Falcon. Falcon's a very nice browser. Used to be known as Cupzilla, but they've changed it to Falcon. And if you want to install this, you go over to the right hand side where you see a small arrow pointing to a tray, and that's for you to download. So you click on that, and it'll tell you the space, how much disk space is needed. It's also going to install 5 dependencies, and so if you're shown details, it'll a little bit more information about what the dependencies are. And Snappy, that's interesting. So it's got them, high details. So you click OK, it'll put into the pending area, and so if you had quite a few stacked up, it would go through them all in order that you want to install them. So now it's downloading the dependencies, some Qt5 web engines. That's a large file in itself, so it's now getting onto the actual Falcon. It's installing, all done, it's finished. We'll close that down, and you see that Falcon, by default, when you install a new program or application in TrueOS on Lumina, you get an icon on the actual desktop. I'm not a great fan of that, because before knowing it, you'll have an entire desktop full of icons for programs you've installed, and it looks cluttered. So again, you can either You modify it, you can move it, delete it if you want. Although one thing would have private browsing, that's interesting. One thing I would have liked would be the ability to directly, obviously I know I can't drag, but right click and then add that to the quick menu from there. In case, it's no big deal. So what we need to do is just remove item, go to the browse applications, and it should be under the network, yeah. So you click on that, pin to quick launch, there you go, there's Falcon. A nice little browser is Falcon. I was always a fan of Cupzilla, always. It's really, it's fast, good, clean, no nonsense browser. And I might do a review of that later actually. It works quite well on FreeBSD and TrueOS. Yeah. I like that. So we've got the basics, so we've done the icons on the thing, the menus. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people complain that that Lumina, and therefore TrueOS by extension, is too difficult for them to navigate or to get their head round, because they're used to a certain way of operating. I mean, you can customize this a lot to make it look and feel more comfortable for you, but it can only do so much, because you are not using GNOME, and you're not using KDE, and you're not using XFCE, and you are using Lumina, which was being designed to behave in a certain way. And although you can try and make it look as close to them approximations as you want, it's never going to do, and that's what people trip up on. They expect it to behave in a certain way. So yeah, so what? So you browse files. Browse files will take you to your home folder. Oh no, PPD. I didn't need that. That actually didn't work. I have a PPD file which I keep as, you know, default in case I have any trouble installing the printer. But in this case, it didn't work. The HP setup detected the printer and installed it. In fact, I'll get rid of that. I don't need that. So when you browse files, it takes you to your home folder. It's almost like having a home icon on your desktop. It will take you straight to your home folder. Browse applications we've seen. That takes you to all the installed applications that you want. And control menu, control panel. This is one of the jarring things which I kind of agree with some of the reviews on TrueOS, in the sense that, I mean, it doesn't bother me, and I don't find it jarring, but I can understand why some people would. It's the theme, the mismatch of icons. You've got these core systems tasks, which are done in the almost like GTK3, almost black and white icons. So you know, your boot environments, your devices, all them ones which tackle the actual running of the system are done in black and white. But then it should be that third party should be in full colour, like in the menu. You know, you've got nearly any one of these is nice brightly coloured icon, but then you get some black and white system ones, and it just seems to be, I don't know. I think the main problem is what you do. And then look, you see, some of these are system ones, but they're in full colour. It's very inconsistent, and it can make people, you know, turn them off it, which I can understand that. So perhaps if the developers, I don't know, might want to reconsider doing these. But it's a minor point. It's a moot point. It doesn't really interfere in your usage. So yeah, Yap Cafe, like I said, is your central point of installing and uninstalling your programs and applications on TrueOS. You can choose which repository to use, the base, the major, or your local if you've compiled some of the programs yourself. And these tells you the ones that have been installed. And uninstalling is as simple as installing. Let's go back to web browsers. See Falcon? We'd installed it earlier. You'll now notice next to the ones that's been installed, you get an uninstall package, a little bin. So you click on that and it'll tell you, do you want to remove it? And removing it will uninstall it, of course, but it'll also clean up, so it won't leave any unneeded libraries files around. And Falcon is gone. Its icon remains on there until you remove it, and it should have gone automatically from networks. Yeah, it's automatically gone from there. So that's the installing and uninstalling, and creating a favorite on your quick launch bar. So you've got quite a few options to install and programs that you want to install. You can actually install some Linux programs. There's quite a few on FreeBSD. I'm not sure how many are on TrueOS. Yeah, a few. Flash player, we don't need that. Linux library files for the Linuxulator, as they call it, which is just an abstract Linux layer, really. An ABI that allows you to run some Linux programs almost at full speed, if not quicker, than Linux itself, which is quite remarkable. So yeah, you got some Opera. I like Opera. It's a shame what happened to Opera, really. So yeah, okay, we got that. That's good. If you want to update your system, your update manager, we'll see if there's any updates. Check for updates. And really, if there are any updates, they would come up there. And we're alright, we're not too bad. Let's close that down. Right, so you got your control panel, which we've seen. We'll have a further look into that in a bit. Preferences. Now, preferences are just general. You can configure your desktop, alter your sound if you want to make it louder or quieter. Change workspaces. Although that actually is a bit clunky. Yeah, I'm not sure if I don't like that particular way of doing it. And change language. But let's have a look at configure desktop. Again, we'll take it down to this like mini menu, this mini area, and you can configure everything from window effects to theme, wallpaper. Alter the very window manager underneath, which I think is based on OpenBox. So we'll have a look. Theme. We'll check out the themes. It's got some themes. I mean, I don't tend to bother with themes and cosmetic parts of it. I'm not going to spend a long time looking at this, but it's got a few. It's not many, and you can always install your own. Effects, if you wish. Fonts. Yeah, good selection. Installed. Icons. There's plenty more that can be downloaded if there's not enough. How everything looks, desktop styles. What programs needed to be auto-started, which is yeah, it's a good little handy little thing. Yep, that's fine. It does what it says. These are all pretty much intuitive, really. Sounds, keyboard shortcuts, applications. Let's see what that does. Alright, so you can choose your default system based, so if you want the default web browser, you can change it there. Yeah, same for that. Qt terminal. Oops, excuse me. So yeah, I mean, they're all pretty much intuitive. They all do what they say they do. Your screen configuration will let you change the resolution of it. I've got a fairly low spec. I've got a fairly low resolution monitor, but it's for the test machine, so I don't care. System updates we've already looked at. It'll take you back to that. So there are several ways to get to the same point. Screensavers. There's quite a few. You could perhaps cut back on the screensaver blank, screensaver start, screensaver stop, screensaver lock, and just have it under that one particular screensaver option. But again, it's nitpicking. So you got here, so various things that you can tweak with, I think. Right. Leave, browse. Okay. Well, we're going to have a look at memory usage. I prefer to use top. In FreeBSD, top works slightly different from Linux, and it gives you a bit more information. You can tell that you're using ZFS as your file system, because there's a lot of information there about how much has been used and compression, etc. So at the present time, Simple Screen Recorder uses some system resources and memory, but at the present time we're using 591 megabytes, 174 put aside for in case you want to start up the programs again. We'll start up LibreOffice. Got that going, and we'll start up, I don't know, Firefox, and a GNU cache. So let's say, for instance, you're using this as a home desktop where you're doing your finances, or it's in a small to medium sized business. There you go. It's not much to look at, but if you've used this before, try a new file, history, pound sterling, trading accounts, forward, go on accounts. Right, so this is a good old fashioned home or small business accounting software. Track of your finance, your assets, and yeah, I don't really use this particular one, but yeah, it's quite a comprehensive one. But there you go. So it's got running in the background, and let's see how much memory we got now. 976 is running, but you've got two big ones. You've got LibreOffice and you've got Firefox and Simple Screen Recorder and your GNU cache running. But that's not too bad. I think that's fairly decent. If you want to see what actually processes, you've got a lot of information going on in top, and people get confused. If you press I, it can switch between running processes that are actually running right now and ones which are reserved, which are no longer running. So press I and it will give you that. So at the moment we've got simple screen recorder is using up 38 roughly percentage of CPU time, and the rest are fairly small, and even memory usage is simple screen recorder is a bit of a greedy pig. Yeah, so that's not so bad. That's still really good. So things open fairly quick. It accesses the drive fairly fast. Your directory structure. That's what your directory structure looks like. It's telling you. I kept the default pull name of just tank1, but you can change that obviously to anything that you want. It's fairly easy to add your own new pulls if you wish. But that's it. I mean, that's what it looks like, and that's going to confuse the hell out of a lot of Linux users who look for a directory listing, and it's like, whoa, what's all that? But see, then again, you see, this is not Linux. So that's not good. That's good. And that's basically it for thing. There's probably something I should mention. I can't think of anything. You got your media player. There's one or two applications on this which are Lumina centric, or Lumina's own files, applications when it comes to. I'll show you them in a minute. I've shown them before in the previous TrueOS review for 17.12. But I'll have a quick look now. This has got a radio application, which is, to me, it's an interesting thing. I've not used this. I'll look into it. But you've got your TrueOS handbook, which is a link to the FreeBSD handbook. It's like the FreeBSD handbook, but it's slightly tailored towards TrueOS. And worth a read, actually. Very good. Ooh, let's see discourse. Sure I did. But everything you need is in here. Everything from wireless adapters to setting them all up, and it's in a very easy to read and screenshotted format. So you can copy everything it says and tailor it to your own needs. Actually very impressive. A lot of work's gone into this. If you want a dual boot, if you wish to do that. Yeah. Everything on the basic, like creating a user. It's all in there. It's very good. Sure. If you want some example for OpenRC install scripts. Yeah. So this user manual is like the user manual of olden times, when we used to have, I don't know, 1,000 pages thick book that came with your OS and telling everything that you could do with it. So this is a bit like that, but in a virtual way. It's very good. So you got that. That's actually, I mean, I know it's just an HTML file on the system, but still, it's a very good thing to have. You got your calculators. Very nice basic calculator. What else have we got? Control panel. The Insight File Manager, which I've seen before. So all these are kind of like native Lumina applications, the ones that come standard with it. Lumina Media Player, Lumina PDF Viewer. Thought I might have told you about it. What else have we got? Lumina screenshot. See, and this is a nice example of a nice, neat little program which does only one thing and really does it well. You zoom in and out on the left hand side to control that. In settings, set delay, single area, window, the usual stuff. So I captured that, so I want to do that. Save it on my desktop and save that. And we'll just exit out of these ones, and there it is. Easy peasy. It's just a matter of getting used to the different ways of doing it. I think the different workflow than what you're normally used to. Once you do, it gets easier. It's like everything else. People have now become kind of adverse to learning new things. But once you do, you know, it opens a new world, things that you never thought of doing before. So really, I mean, that's a little bit of an annoying glitch that. I might file a bug report for this. Although I do suspect it's down to my graphics drivers. So yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a very functional workstation OS based upon FreeBSD. It has the stability of FreeBSD and the simplicity of Lumina, and you've got a very responsive system. Yeah. Lumina text editor. Nice and simple. Yeah. Well, that's it. I know it hasn't been in depth. You know, it hasn't been really in depth. But I'll just exit out of these. Don't want to save that. Yep, there you go. Oh, no preview. Okay. We'll close that. Oh, let's have a look at the version of LibreOffice. Version 5. That's good. It's a good stable release. So, overall, it's a good little system. Very configurable. And I think the best way to discover it is to play with it yourself. I don't use virtual machines, but if you was just to get a virtual machine up and going, slip TrueOS in there and just fire it up, have a play with it. I can't guarantee it's going to be very responsive because you're running ZFS in a virtual machine, and it does so by default. But its integration into VirtualBox is fantastic. It actually detects you in VirtualBox and offers a graphics driver to match, and guest editions as standard. So yeah, very good. Install it and have a play around with it. It's the only thing I can recommend. See what you think. Try customizing it. You know, when you're presented with the default desktop when you log in, it's not the prettiest of sites. It may be a little bit confusing and disorientating, but just have a play around with it. Click on the options, see what they do. Like right click on the desktop and, you know, new folder, new file, paste. It's everything is familiar and yet strange to new users. On one hand, they know what to do, they know what things should do, but it does it in a different way, and that can be disorientating. So just play around with it. The only way to find out. Roll your sleeves up and have a go. And then after you use it for a while, you don't like it, well then that's fine. You know, not every operating system is for everybody. but choice is good. And I think if we had a monoculture of just one OS, I think that would that wouldn't be a nice place to be. Be it Windows or Mac or even Linux. If you just had one monoculture, just one to choose from, nah, it's not good. It stifles innovation. It's not something that you want to do. But anyway, before I ramble any longer, and I've been talking far too much and my voice is starting to go, I'll catch you next time, and thanks for watching. Remember, if you like this video, hit that like button, and if you would like to see some more, then please consider subscribing. And if you don't like this, you don't want to see any more, then don't. But hopefully you will. Anyway, thanks for watching.